to wear the Cowboy star on my helmet.
Continue that legacy of greatness.
I'd do anything known to man to get in a Super Bowl.
How about them Cowboys?
When you hear that, as I said, you either love or hate the Cowboy fans, and it's usually warm in my heart when I hear that.
How about them Cowboys? All right, what's this Cowboys offense going to be next season with expectations sky high as usual? Healthy Dak, no Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, number one, new pieces on the O-line, but that's the guy we've got this video of, Zeke. How can he contribute in a major way? Here's more from McCarthy.
Well, I think the biggest thing with Zeke is he's completely healthy now, and he's had a tremendous offseason. I mean, the weight that he's been pushing in the weight room, the numbers that he's been cranking out, have been very, very impressive. I can't stand to tell you it's been the best of his career, but he's in top shape. And, at the end of the day, he's an extremely instinctive, tough, smart football player, great teammate. So I think he's definitely has set himself up for that.
Look away, Cowboys fans. I'm sorry about this. Over the last 5 years, Ezekiel Elliott's rushes and yards per game averages have gone way down. While some of it's due to his timeshare with Tony Pollard, it's worth noting Zeke had only 3 rushes for at least 20 yards last year. 26 players had more. My goodness. Now, some of the other numbers that matter here, Robert, what he makes on his paycheck. Those numbers are a big reason why we have these high expectations. But you saw those numbers, the bad ones. Is the criticism that Zeke has faced following his decline fair?
Laura, no, the criticism isn't fair, but life isn't fair, and this is what you sign up for when you're a professional football player. You look at those numbers, and you saw how his rushes also decreased, and I think that the Cowboys need to make this two-back system with Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard the focal point of their offense. Don't get pass happy, and the only way they can do that is if they strengthen up their offensive line. Zeke was running behind a banged-up offensive line last year. He himself was banged up as he played the majority of the season with a hurt knee, and he still finished 6th in touchdowns with 10 and 7th in the league in rushing yards. Now, I know they're not paying him to be 6th and 7th. They're paying him to be number 1. But you can't discredit what he did after having to play behind 7 different rotations on that offensive line. But the Cowboys need to feature Tony Pollard a little bit more, but don't take Zeke's touches away. Give them both more touches.
So I agree with Robert that you want to give both these guys touches. However, at the end of the day, they paid Zeke. They paid the running back. This is Robert's point to life isn't fair. Yeah, he's healthy now, but fans don't want to hear about it. Did you step on the field last year? Oh, you were on the field last year. We weren't hearing about injuries last year. Now it's, oh, well, I was hurt last year. So that's all true. But from the fan base, when you have the star on your helmet, you don't want to hear any of that because Jerry Jones is only thinking about Super Bowl. So the fans, they may be delusional, they may be crazy, they have all that belief in the Cowboys. They want to see results and production. And if Zeke is making that much money, don't tell me about the offensive line because they paid the running back. I think that's the reality of the situation.
Ooh, we're going to have to talk a little more about that offensive line, though. Sorry to say. Jeff, you heard Robert mention that they were injured last season. Now there's been some changes on this O-line. Yeah. What's your level of concern about the Cowboys O-line this season?
Very concerned. Listen, Lyle Collins going, right? You got Williams going. So they're making moves. But this was not a physical football team at the end of last season. And you think about Kellen Moore, they run 11 personnel all the time. So that means they want to use one running back, one tight end, then spread it out with receivers. Well, if you have Pollard and Elliott, put both those guys in at the same point of the game. Pollard can split out. You can start him at a receiver. He's fully capable of making plays out there. Put him back in motion. Now you got 2 backs in the backfield. Zeke is an excellent blocker if it is pass protection. There's a number of different ways to get creative. But let me just say this. There's plenty of blame to go around for how they fell apart towards the latter part of the season. And that was offensive line was soft. They weren't running the ball effectively behind their pads. And Dak Prescott wasn't playing great. So if you can give them all credit or all blame, however you look at it. But I am of the same mindset of RG3 here. Ezekiel Elliott's still a very good running back. You give him enough touches, he will produce the yards. I still think he's above 4.5 yards per carry rusher. I think he'll get back to that this season.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be let him eat, right, Robert? Yeah. It doesn't have to be, right, guys, that you say, well, Zeke can't do anything just because Tony Pollard can, right? Like maybe these two things can be true at the same time. And one of the things, Robert, that was interesting is we heard throughout minicamp, they were talking about Tony Pollard running routes. Now, and we're not sitting here saying he's got some advanced route tree. Amari Cooper gone. You got to think CeeDee Lamb is that guy that's going to be moving into that number one spot. But as you think about their weapons, you think about CeeDee Lamb's role. Is he a true number one in your mind, Robert?
Yeah, Laura, CeeDee Lamb is a true number one, and he's going to go out and prove it. He has everything that you look for out of those types of guys. He can separate. He's got strong hands. He understands the route tree. And the number one thing for me with CeeDee Lamb is his confidence. When they asked him, hey, are you ready to be the number one guy? He said, I've been ready. And I would say this. He's been ready because a ready man don't have to get ready. He stays ready. And I think he's going to have a big focal point for this Cowboys offense. And also, Tony Pollard will be on the field. I think, Jeff, we talked about this before. He needs to be on the field at the same time as Ezekiel Elliott. And that way you can maximize everything for this offense.
100%. And listen, you talking about CeeDee Lamb. Really, he was the one last year. Amari Cooper may have been on the field, but you saw the way he and Dak could never find that rhythm. They could never find that big play. It seemed like every time they needed something, CeeDee Lamb stepped up and made those plays. No doubt. How are they going to cover? They can go to nickel, or they're going to have this guy walk out, try to cover Pollard. All those questions have to be answered. You get into significant strategy issues. And so, again, this goes back to Kellen Moore. How can I get my best 11 on the field? I think Pollard and Elliott are two of the best 11. Get them on the field as much as you can.
Jeff, yes or no? Cowboys win the NFC East? Ooh.
I do think so. I think so. I know everybody's picking the Eagles. It's kind of the hot thing. I think the Cowboys find a way, though.
Robert, yes or no? Cowboys?
Yes, Cowboys win the East.
All right, cool.